Almost 2 years ago now, I made my most popular video of all time. It was 10 cheap luxury cars that you could buy for under £10,000. And in that time, we've been through a global pandemic and had all sorts of other madness happen to car prices, and the prices are pretty different. So I thought it was time to update that video and give you guys a real and up-to-date example of what kind of luxury cars you could buy today for under £10,000. How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video, one of my favorite topics being luxury cars. Less of my faff. Remember that if you buy any kind of second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. And don't forget that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ. If this video gets 2,000 likes, I'll do the same video again at a different price range to update these videos to be a little bit more current, because at the moment they're all like 2 years old. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. But before we get into it, I want to say a massive thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Carly. While I'm getting on my shoes, you could go and click on the link in the description or the pinned comment down below and get 15% off of whenever you buy anything on Carly's site. And my cat has just come to join me. Here I am in my 2002 VW Polo 9N. I'm going to show you exactly what Carly can do, even on a car as old and as useless as this. So you can see that I've just connected Carly to my car. It's just connecting now and it is done. Now it's going to process the vehicle and hopefully at some point let me know what's actually wrong with it. Oh, it's already there. And just by clicking into the engine parameters, I can have a look immediately at what's actually wrong with the car. So all these different fault codes that have shown up to tell me exactly what is wrong with my car and that I really do need to fix. And the amazing thing is, if I had a newer car like a BMW M4 that I'm looking at buying maybe later in the year, or like an Alpha 4C or something like that, I would be able to do even more features on the car. This is just quite an old VW Polo, and even here it's being able to add value. And if we use Carly's smart mechanic, we can literally see here it says that my car has a very bad health status, so I really need to do something about this car at some point. And Carly is what prompted me to even start my quality of life upgrades on this car more recently. And Carly's very recent goal has been to very much focus in on making life easier to repair and maintain your car. So when you watch my kind of YouTube videos looking at a bunch of cheap cars, Carly will be the perfect thing to go alongside buying any of the cars I talk about in my videos. Back inside now, I just wanted to mention that Carly comes with two main app versions. One is the free version, which gives you all the basic things you'd expect from an OBD scanner, and there's the paid one as well, which goes a little bit more in depth in terms of the diagnostics piece and the coding piece as well. So if you'd like to get a Carly, and I highly recommend that you do, please do go to the link in the description or the pinned comment to get 15% off of your purchase. And of course, a massive thanks again to Carly for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. It's a rogue one to kick off the list, the ultra quirky Citroen C6, a luxury executive saloon from a manufacturer that you might not have expected. There's a 2.7 litre turbocharged V6 diesel engine that makes 208 brake horsepower, which you get to 60 in 8.6 seconds. People mistakenly believe that these have got the reversed hinged doors for the rear set, but in reality it was a Lineage concept car that the C6 was based off of that had those doors. It has had incredible reviews for blowing all of its competition out of the water in terms of luxury feel, however, and if you've ever been in one, it honestly feels like you're in a concept car even after all these years. It's a car that has aged well, as on release reviews weren't so good, while now there's a hefty appreciation for them online, and with the premium materials throughout the interior and great wafting ability, I couldn't keep it off of this list. Plus they're very much on the way up in price at the moment, with £4,000 being the minimum I could find them listed for, and for 10 grand you get a 2009 model with around 70,000 miles on the clock. There are many complaints about build quality though, with water leaking issues as well as rust and problems with rough running and the EGR valve failing. I recently dropped a video talking about how Skoda were the underrated people's luxury car brand, and the flagship luxury offering from Skoda is the Superb in Lauren and Clement spec, which you can get with the 2 litre turbo diesel inline 4, which makes 187 brake horsepower, which gets to 60 in 8.1 seconds. This is the third generation Superb and comes as both a saloon and estate, with Lauren and Clement being the range topping spec. On release there was a huge difference between the prices of Superbs, starting at £19,000 in base spec, and an L&K model would set you back over £42,000. That's with good reason, given Lauren and Clement was the names of the two founders of the company of the same name that ultimately became Skoda back in 1925. Back in its early days, Skoda made luxury cars for the Austria-Hungary market, so when you go for an L&K spec, spec, you basically upgrade all the materials to premium ones to basically rival competitors from BMW and Mercedes. Plus you benefit from Skoda's Simply Clever ethos, and that makes the car a little bit more practical. These start at around £7,000, and for 10 grand you'll still be looking at a high mileage example from 2016, making it the newest car on the list. There were known software and electrical failures early on with this car, but outside of that I couldn't find too many issues and have seen them available for well over 150,000 miles. Taking 8th spot on this list is one of my personal favourite cheap luxury cars, the VW Phaeton, with the 3-litre V6 TDI engine that makes 229 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 8.1 seconds. The Phaeton is named after the son of the Greek mythology sun god Helios and is built on the same platform as the Bentley Continental GT and Flying Spur, which is pretty mental considering they are straight up legit luxury cars. But so is the Phaeton, as it was VW's revenge on Mercedes for getting into the low-cost European market with the A-Class, which I mentioned in my previous review on an A-Class if you haven't seen that already. The 2010 facelift is available within our 10k price range, but either way you really do get a stunning car on the interior, which I think is highly underrated considering VW literally left no stone unturned to give you the most luxurious car for the money. And VW are so secretive about the formula that even today we still don't fully know all 10 of the non-negotiable features that Ferdinand Peach said the car had to have. £4,000 the lowest that I could find these listed for, and for £10,000 you're looking at a 2011 example with around 70,000 miles on it. Reliability has been a mixed bag, with some owners noting their cars have been incredibly reliable, while others have had electrical issues in particular as well as steering pump issues. It's been a very international video so far, French, Czech, German and now Swedish with the Volvo S80, specifically with the D5 2.4 litre turbo diesel inline 5 engine that makes 211 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 7.4 seconds. I've previously spoken about the S80 with the larger 4.4 litre V8 block, but this second generation really ran on for a long time, from 2006 to 2016 to be exact, and you can't get more recent examples of that engine for our price range. If you go for the D5 block you can get the most recent facelift, which in my opinion looks a lot more modern and luxurious from the exterior, while the interior is just a little bit cleaner and more up to date. That interior in particular is a different kind of luxury, as Volvo have always been known for keeping it simple on the inside, which isn't to everyone's taste, but I think it actually looks pretty good in the S80. It's also incredibly safe, winning the IIHS 2007 Top Safety Pick Award in overall safety protection. £2,000 the minimum you'll find these listed for, making it the cheapest car on the list at the bottom end, and for £10,000 you get a 2015 model with around 100,000 miles on the clock. The D5 engine is known to be solid, and on forums I found a lot of owners singing the praises of this block and managing over 200,000 miles, which is great news. Audi have a bunch of offerings that would fit into this video, but I decided it would be cool to include the A7, which is a 3-litre V6 TDI which makes 201 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 7.2 seconds. Its quite unique shape is often referred to as a liftback and reminds me of the A5 in some respects, just bigger and more wafty, even though it's actually based on the same platform as the Audi A6. The two cars actually share the same drivetrain, chassis and interior too, so it pretty much is a fastback A6 in many respects. It also takes technology from the luxury A8 saloon with the addition of some more features like the heads-up display, which I personally really like, although I know that not everyone is a fan. I think if you're going for a luxury car to actually drive and cruise around in, I might consider going for this one from this list, as a lot of the car's features are centered around the driver. These start at around £7,000 and 10 grand will get you a 2011 model with around 100,000 miles on it. I couldn't find many major problems with these, and forums are full of very happy owners who've done well over 100,000 miles on these with ease. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, remember 2,000 likes with the same video again at different price ranges, higher and lower, just to remind you guys of what luxury cars are available at different price ranges. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Let's try and aim for 200k. That will be a mad target to hit. Top 5 now, and in 5th is a staple in the luxury car game, the Mercedes S-Class, specifically the W221 in S350 CDI spec, meaning it has a 3-litre V6 bi-turbo which produces 254 brake horsepower and will go from 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds. Nice. Mercedes always go in with their S-Classes, giving them the best tech available as the flagship Mercedes models. The W221 got a great selection of interior specs with some very nice premium materials offered, and a set of screens in the the dashboard that you could use to watch films on and the likes. Not bad for a car that dropped in the late 2000s. Some of the technical features it got were pioneering for the Mercedes brand, and we still see on their cars today, like the lane assist and attention assist, both of which I actually find really annoying when driving a Mercedes, but they're still pretty advanced. These are listed for a minimum of around £7,000, and £10,000 to get a 2012 model with 70,000 miles on the clock. Turbos have been known to fail, which usually comes as a result of seal deterioration, but in general these are pretty good cars for reliability, and I've literally seen some for sale with over 350,000 miles on them. In fourth is a car literally used as a flex in a song by a designer, the BMW X6, a luxury crossover SUV with a 3-litre twin turbocharged diesel that produces 281 brake horsepower, and it will get to 60 in 6.7 seconds, at least in 3.5D spec. BMW wanted to merge together their sleeker coupe stylings with the larger, more beefy SUVs, and the X6 is what they came up with a sloping coupe style roof, but larger overall layout. The interior has actually aged really well. I thought when these were new that they were behind Mercedes and Audi from an interior perspective, but they've actually aged better than both in my opinion, keeping it a bit simple but overall not looking super old, but this is heavily spec dependent. One thing that is worthy of note is that despite many people being pleased with how luxurious they are, they're not as spacious on the interior as they may look from the outside. This is the most expensive car on the list, starting at £8,000 with 10 grand getting you a high mileage 2009 example. That engine is unfortunately renowned for problems too, as has been proven by the 335D. It might be worth spending a little more to get the 40D instead, which is known to have much better reliability in comparison. One of the most executive looking luxury cars in my opinion is the Jaguar XJ or XJL, as it's just huge from pretty much every angle. It has a 3-litre twin turbocharged V6 diesel engine that makes 271 brake horsepower and will go from 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. As it's a diesel, it has an insane amount of torque at 600 Newton meters, and that engine is shared with the Range Rover Sport that was around when this was new back in 2010. The interior on these are properly luxurious, with quite a modern look and feel not dissimilar to Jags today, and despite the car's size, owners know it's actually quite a good car to drive and handles really well considering its class. That interior was also a huge shift from previous XJ generations, as was the exterior. Compare those external stylings with any previous XJs and you'll see it's a whole different concept, thanks to Ian Callum's change to the design principles. £7,000 the lowest you will find these listed for, and for £10,000 you get a 2011 example with high mileage. The main bearing has been a catastrophic failure on these, which requires basically a whole new engine, but it's not super common. More commonly, electrics have been problematic in some cases. It's an absolute beast taking second on the list. The Lexus LS600h, which is a 5-litre V8 engine with a hybrid motor that makes a combined 439 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.1 seconds. I've spoken many times before about the GS450h, but I'm not sure I've ever done a video on the LS600h, which is actually higher up on the luxury range for Lexus. For me, this is a bigger and more luxurious GS in many ways, especially considering both have the same design principles, and Lexus even considered making a Super LS model beyond this to enter the ultra luxury market, but opted against it, deciding this was enough. The LS600HL was already over $100,000 in the US, and a Pebble Beach limited edition of 50 took the role of being the highly limited luxury example. It has some insane tech in it for its time, considering it was dropped in 2006, like automatic parallel parking and a bunch of chassis control systems to keep the ride as comfortable as possible. These start at £7,000, and for 10 grand you get a 2007 model with high mileage. Other than basic wear and tear, the key problem with these is the batteries as a result of the aged hybrid motor. Outside of that, like previous generation LSs, the engine isn't under much strain. Taking first on the list is the Maserati Quattroporte, arguably the car with the most luxurious or exotic brand attached to at least. It has a 4.2 litre Ferrari Maserati Collab V8 that produces 394 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.4 seconds. That engine is very cool and sounds amazing, but even cooler from a luxury perspective is the interior, which came in a ridiculous number of specs when new. I personally am a fan of the chocolate or tan interiors, but if you want to go for a brash example, you could go down the red route, or if you're more reserved, there's always the black or grey for you to benefit from. Basically, make sure you shop around before you buy one of these. It was actually the 5th generation Quattroporte, with older generations also having a similar format in terms of being 4-door luxury saloons, but it had been a 2-year gap between the 4th and 5th generation, plus the car had changed significantly in terms of design principles. Weirdly, I've watched prices of these sink almost all the way back to pretty much pre-pandemic levels now too, at £7,000 at the bottom end, despite getting up to a minimum of £10,000 during the height of the bubble. well. For 10k now you get a 2005 Maserati with around 50,000 miles on it. Maintenance is quite expensive on these, but what can you expect from something with a Ferrari V8 in it? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to hit the like button, I would really appreciate it, and subscribe as well if you're new. Massive thanks again to Carly for sponsoring this video, to the patrons as well for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Listen.